Welcome to the Shiproom. You're on the air. In 1959, the Bank of Scotland was the first UK bank to install a computer. This achievement remained the greatest source of national pride until Braveheart hit theaters 36 years later. Today, I'm talking with the group CIO of the company, which later absorbed that bank, Simon Bullers from the Lloyds Banking Group. Now, you've been really focused on modernizing the way that Lloyds works, and you're really focused on how you can improve the employee experience. Tell me how you started that process and then how you're pushing it forward.
So I joined the group 2.5 years ago. When I joined the group, we were just completing an XP to Windows 7 migration. And I guess there was a lot of pressure to say, we don't really want to go through that headache ever again. And how could we begin to look at that colleague experience and really get back to using technology to become a bank and not really a technology, I guess, just for the sake of technology's sake.
Sure. One of the things that's been interesting as a part of this transformation, like you guys are going all in on Microsoft 365, moving into the cloud. Was there resistance as a critical infrastructure provider for the United Kingdom to make that move to the cloud?
Obviously a highly regulated industry, but actually to look at the concentration risk, actually with every bank putting platforms into this kind of service, what does that mean? I think the pages and the number of pages we had to submit to the regulator for approval were quite interesting. In truth, we've all been learning, and I think it's that learning journey that's been one of the challenges we had to face from a regulatory perspective.
As other organizations ask you about your transformation that you're doing, how do you describe what you're doing internally at Lloyds to your peers?
The way we describe it is you could start at A and you could slowly progress B, C, D, that approach, or you could start at the end state, Z, and ask how far you should work back. And that's been a mantra we've been beginning to teach our peers. So it's like, actually don't start at the beginning, start at the end state you want to get to. And then ask yourself, actually how far you have to get back. I always internally say, if we got to the letter M, we've done something wrong actually.
So a part of the great history of the Lloyds Banking Group is that your organization traces history all the way back to when the Scottish Parliament established the Bank of Scotland in 1695. What we're looking at right now, this is the original coat of arms that the Bank of Scotland was given by the Queen. I'm going to show you a couple of coat of arms. Is it a legit coat of arms or is it a fake? This is the coat of arms of the island of Diego Garcia, real or fake? What do you think?
That's fake.
Do you think turtles can really stand up like that? A crest that represents a secret town in Russia where they developed weapons-grade plutonium.
Fully real actually.
The coat of arms for the Canadian province of Nunavut.
I think that's real.
Is that a narwhal? Coat of arms of Perth, Australia.
That's a fake.
The Anderson family crest since the 1300s. So working with your team at Lloyds, it's actually one of the things that brought about the creation of this solution that my team has built called the Microsoft Managed Desktop. What is it about being a heavily regulated financial institution with 90,000 employees that made MMD the right fit for you?
It was really the whole notion of building an evergreen proposition, actually being able to take a security stance that actually was in partnership with yourself, where we were looking for best in class and best in breed technologies and bringing that all into one solution. That made it hugely attractive to us.
Now we've actually got a fairly decent pocket of these MMD managed devices and enabled users within the bank. I'm curious, what's the feedback from them? What kind of input are you getting on that experience that we're putting in their hands?
Well, our traditional desktop, for some colleagues, the average boot time was around about 27 minutes. We had 47.
Hold on, 27 minutes?
That's correct. But for a typical colleague, 8 to 10 minutes, and even that is a really big time. 47 agents actually to manage that environment in various forms. So I think when you hit 10, 20, 30-second boot times, you are already winning an interesting, I guess, emotional challenge for a colleague. But we also get a soft benefit, actually productivity in terms of people saying, I'm going to make a change to something because I can, and I can immediately do that. It empowers the colleague to feel as though they want to go an extra mile with the customer or actually do something which they know they could, whereas previously they couldn't.
You started out with 47 agents on the box.
Yeah.
And as we've worked together, I think we've now taken that down to like 3. And one of the guarantees that we have with the Microsoft Managed Desktop is your PCs will boot in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And so you've gone from an average of 8 to 10 to 30 seconds. More importantly, you talk about the fact that your battery life is significantly longer, but your users can now work anywhere they want. I love what you said. If they can talk to the internet, they're in.
And we were seeing that colleague engagement come back as a really big enabler. But also modernizing the application suite, being able to do things differently has really begun to change the way we think.
And do you think this becomes a competitive differentiation for the Lloyds Banking Group in attracting talent?
It really does, actually, because we know that if we can improve colleague engagement, if we can actually, because we have such an influence on the UK economy, we know that that will actually just change, I guess, both the bank's ability to service our customers, but also retain talent.
Yeah.
That talent attrition is actually really big for us, and it's something that we want to, be on top of at all times. So using the latest technology and using, actually world-class devices is really important for that.
With Microsoft, my team kind of like taking care of the nuts and bolts, if you will, just deploying and securing Windows. Your people have been able to up-level their skills and their impact. Is that a good way to say it?
Yeah, and even down to looking at infrastructure as code and how we can actually codify changes and how we can look at the way we just reimagine the way we do things, and that's been a really big part of that journey as well.
There's so much like fear where IT professionals will say, well, if it moves to the cloud, does my job get eliminated? And what we actually see is your actually job becomes more impactful because you're able to work on things that are actually more impactful to the business.
100%.
So I know this MMD project has been something your senior leadership has been tracking really, really closely as it's rolled out. So what is your leadership's expectation about the project that we're working on together and how it's going to contribute to the goals of the company?
We'll have achieved an amazing picture if we actually never have to go to the CFO and ask for a large drawdown because we have failed in our ability to achieve evergreen. So I think we will be measured by the fact that
just a consistent
change is continuous, that we take 2 feature releases a year, 12 quality releases,
Yep.
and the colleagues actually are removed from that process. That is the measure of success.
So I'm really glad you're here today because I want to talk to someone who from the banking industry, because last week I went to an auction for unclaimed safety deposit boxes. And I'm wondering if you can help me check out the contents of some of them.
Of course.
And then give me a rough appraisal to see if I got anything good or not.
Okay.
So here's the first one. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, what do you think? Did I get anything of value?
I'm not an expert in these things, but no.
I paid $6 for this. Did I do okay? All right, let's go to the next one. Okay.
Wow.
It's even warm.
It's reminding me. I spent 11 years eating this kind of food.
All right, we just got to see here. That's delicious. I guess it's worth the $34 we paid. You have a really unique perspective on life and what gets you out of bed every morning. Explain a little bit about it and how that impacts your work and your life.
So a year ago, I discovered I had terminal cancer. I don't think it's something that anyone wants to hear, and certainly for me personally, it was a big shock. I don't smoke, I don't drink, and to be told you have a lung cancer is quite a bit of a shock. But I think actually it demonstrated to me 2 things. First of all, that when you have a program or a piece of work that you can focus on, as well as a family life, it actually gives you an escape from something which actually sounds dramatic, but you really have no control over. So that was, I guess for me, a great thing that actually I discovered about myself. The second thing that I reflected on and continues to reflect is, no matter how bad your day may be, somebody's always having a way worse one than yourself. And actually, I think that when you're a cancer victim, you realise that people talk about it in an interesting way, and men are really bad at talking about it. And actually framing that in a way that actually, I'm just a regular person. These things happen. If I can have, if I can survive 5 years, that's great. I've told my wife I want to survive 35 years, and that's my personal mission to myself. And certainly that gets me out every day because I want to achieve the things that we set out to do.
While we're talking, we have a chatbot that's sitting, listening in, and it comes up with 12 questions related to our conversation, and we call it the database dozen. So to make you feel at home as a banker, we're going to fill these babies up with pennies. This takes me back to my childhood. It's 50 per, right? Have you considered how much money Lloyds could save over the long haul on signage and ink by cutting off one L from the name. Lloyd's can trace its origins back to 1695. Would you have made a good CIO back then? All right, so the Lloyd's logo is a horse looking backward. Is something chasing it? Will your business be willing to sell life insurance to someone who eats 15 hamburgers a week? I'm asking for a friend.
It's part of our modeling process, I think. And
True or false? Can Lloyd's commercial auto lease branch help me get a lease for a decommissioned Russian tank?
that's false.
Would Lloyd's agricultural branch ever support a penguin ranch?
No, you wouldn't.
Would Lloyd's ever give a home loan to the house if the house was haunted? Does Lloyd's Banking Group insurance cover damage from Sharknadoes?
No.
Which ancient form of currency would you rather use? Beans or sheep?
Beans.
Yeah, me too. Which is harder, math or remembering the name of someone you just met?
Probably math.
Hey Simon, thanks for coming and hanging on in the Shiproom with us. Thank you for the partnership. If people wanted to learn more about Simon, they wanted to learn more about the Lloyds Banking Group, where would they go?
If you go to lloydsbanking.com, you get to the Lloyds brand. If you wanted to go to myself, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Thank you for watching it. This is Brad Anderson signing off. Bullers.
Yeah.
I gotta get the right Bullers.
Yeah.
Tell me how to say it again.
Bullers.
Bullers. Is it
It's
you
like
or
Ferris
oh?
Bueller, but without that. Say Bullers.
Bullers.
Bullers. Yeah.
Bullers.